Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the ICH Academy lessons. And we are starting today, Thursday, with Professor Tiago de Oliveira Pinto from Germany. And then after that we have guests from Bretagne. And our idea for today is that Tiago can continue around 12:30 and then so maybe around 1 hour including questions, and then you have 30 minutes after that and time. So welcome, and we can already start.
Thank you very much, Uti. Thank you very much also this institute for having me this time. Would you prefer sitting or standing?
Just as you wish.
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, I try to do it this way. It's not my first time in Kaustinen. I'm very pleased to be here, and well, as you see, I'm chairholder of a UNESCO chair, the first musicological UNESCO chair. So, one main topic of our research and of students' works and teaching is to discuss and to understand music as an intangible cultural heritage. This is what brought us together here. You remember that we have two main cultural heritage conventions from UNESCO. The first one from 1972, this is the World Heritage, and a bit more than 30 years later, UNESCO launched the convention also for cultural heritage, but on intangible cultural heritage. What is the main difference? It's very interesting to see that the first one is mainly devoted to materials, to cities, to buildings. So this is a concept of cultural heritage which is silent and doesn't move. This was the first concept. And of course, many members of UNESCO, mainly from Asian countries and Latin America, said this concept of cultural heritage, based on the notion of something which is built, which is steady, which doesn't move, can't be a cultural concept which is valid throughout the world. And so it took 30 years, 3 decades, and UNESCO came with the second Heritage Convention, and now you have suddenly a concept of cultural heritage, which is very much linked also to movement and to sound. And of course, this is where music fits in also. So in my perspective, in fact, these are two different cultural heritage conventions, but in fact they must be thought together. Both together will really represent a broad concept of cultural heritage. This is the thing. But in the beginning they were kept quite apart. So also the approach to the cultural, to the World Heritage was very much a historical one. And while the concept of a moving, of a sounding cultural heritage is more something which relates to the cultural expressions of nowadays, something which occurs now. We can see, we can witness it. So if you go through the world, sometimes you will find these two logos. This first one of World Heritage, this is the Grand Place in Brussels, and sometimes you have this logo you see on the road. And of course there are some buildings also recognized as World Heritage, but here you feel there is something is missing here. This is a theater, this is an opera house in Bayreuth, beautiful opera house. But the building as such is just empty, it's beautiful to see. But what happens inside this building? What was important for this building to become what it is? So this brings us to this other concept of cultural heritage, which is movement and sound. See, this is an expression of cultural heritage, dance, or here mimicry, or Japanese kabuki. This has also been inscribed into the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention. Or such phenomena like this here in Kaustinen. I just came last week, we had a Rudolstadt festival in Germany, which is very similar to what is going on here. It's a whole city celebrating music, dance, exchange. But not only those acting on the stage are important for music and for the performing arts. Also this, the other side of the stage is important. And finally, from 2003 on, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention has been launched. And one of the first countries to sign to be part of it was Brazil. And this is Samba de Roda. You see, this is this other logo, Samba de Roda, which is not samba as a national genre of Brazil, but a very specific regional samba in Bahia, northeastern Brazil. And it, of course, it has a lot to do with dance, with other kinds of expression, but they are lively. They occur nowadays. Of course, they have a past. That's important also to think. It's something we can witness nowadays, but those who are doing it have learned it from their ancestors, have done it since long. So just for you to, probably you know, this is the definition in the second paragraph of the convention text on the intangible cultural heritage. We have 5 domains, so-called domains of the intangible cultural heritage. So these are the domains. And you will ask me now, but where is music here? Can you see music here? No, music is not here, because in fact, and that's the good thing, that this is important to say about this convention, because music is everywhere here. Music is, so to speak, a glue sometimes that binds, that brings things and these different domains together. So, there is another aspect which is important to stress. I mentioned in the beginning. The intangible cultural heritage means, of course, practices, representations, knowledge, skills, but also non-tangible aspects like musical instruments, objects, artifacts, and cultural spaces like the opera house you saw. So this idea that intangible cultural heritage doesn't exist by its own, but always must have relation to other cultural elements which are tangible, which are material. This is in the beginning of this convention text. And many times colleagues, they forget. They think, no, intangible cultural heritage is something completely different, has nothing to do with the other convention. Through our research and analyzing the so-called UNESCO representative list, where those elements have been listed on this international level, the process, you know, is bottom up, different from the other conventions. So the practitioners, the cultural manifestations, they pretend to be recognized as cultural heritage, but in their own country first. So the inventory of the intangible cultural heritage in the different countries, the countries who signed the convention, has to occur first. Only if one element has already achieved this national recognition, it can be submitted for, there can be an application for it for this representative list. So this is the agreement. It is the convention is a agreement between state parties, not individuals and not even cultural bearers, as you know. So, but this is an important fact for us working with music, especially musicology also. 60%, almost 60% of those elements recognized as intangible cultural heritage of humanity are music or are related to music. No? This can be, I don't know if I have something here to show, not this time, but this can be, it could be musical instruments, for instance. So one of the first elements listed here was the Chinese guqin, the zither, or the tar from Azerbaijan, a lute. So musical instruments. Or Germany has submitted an application which was successful in 2017. The organ play, the organ building, the process of building organs and the organ music, which is a century-long tradition in Germany, and so on. But also, like Samadihoda, genres that include dance or, so to speak, performing arts, including also dramatic elements and so on. So we have a lot of different elements related to that. Even specific genres like the tango from the La Plata region, or fado from Portugal, and so on. And of course also the fiddle playing and its related practices here from Kaustinen. So musical heritage, this is the topic of my presentation. What is that? How can we understand musical heritage? You see, it's not, or these are some examples. Yesterday you showed us some scores, you see? So this is material, this is paper and something written. So we have documents also. We have materials also. Or even musical instruments. Of course, they are materials. But of course, we have also tuning systems and the sound as such, as you were trying to understand here regarding the Kaustinen sound of violin playing. And of course, also performance. So you see, within the this domain of intangible cultural heritage, music plays a very important role, almost 60%. But on the other side, also music is the element which brings those different cultural heritage concepts together in a way. And this is the important thing we from music research have to show to UNESCO, to everyone working with that, because I'm often in UNESCO and they are not aware of that. Still many officials think that the material and the intangible are two different cultural heritage concepts. Of course, they are, from the approach they're different, but there are so many linkages, and music is one of those elements who brings this together. So I'm going a bit deeper into music from the perspective of UNESCO. Let's start with this more material aspect, music. What is it from this UNESCO perspective? So I showed you first these two conventions, or this in German, sorry. So the first one is without sound and without movement. The second one, which is intangible, has sound and has movement. But there is also another, this is not a convention, this is a program devoted to important documents, which is the memory of the world. And it's interesting that the first musical element recognized by UNESCO as having world significance, as they say, was through this program, through scores, through archives, and so on. The thing is, now coming back also to musicology, if you analyze these conventions, always the question, but what is music? How can we define music? So my first question to you would be, is music rather art or is it culture? This is a very basic question. Not only for these UNESCO conventions, but also in musicology. If you see historical musicology, was mainly devoted to this area here, exactly to this small here. Music as art, Tonkunst. On the other side, ethnomusicology or the anthropological approach to music would see music as a cultural expression. And it's interesting if you analyze terminology of these UNESCO conventions and also of musicology, you will always find these two different domains. And it's strange, I have analyzed this, that in many rare cases, art and culture come together as something which characterizes music. For instance, if you see huge music dictionary, MGG, Musik in Geschichte und Gegenwart, or the Grove Dictionary of Music, if you go through this text, which defines what music is, you will always find the term art, 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 art. And in MGG case, not one single mention to cultural heritage. Music as cultural heritage. So you see, you have here two different fields, and we as doing music research between musicology and UNESCO, it's our duty to bring these things together and to try to discuss it in another way. And this is my diagram. So you see, I perceive culture as something more general. And within culture you have art, you have music. But not all kinds of music are perceived as artistic. Well, we can discuss this also, but not mainly in the musicological sense as Tonkunst, the art of sound, like Hanslick and many of those from historical musicology have defined it in the 19th century. So this is what we have. So these documents and now I give you an example. So Tonkunst is exactly what I told you. This is the idea from the 19th century. Music as art. Music as the art of sound. And this was a collection started in Germany, but other countries do it as well. Austria and probably Finland also. This was a collection of scores of edited and researched music from the past of composers who were contemporary to Mozart or to Beethoven, but not these big names. But they were part of the musical life, of the musical history. So they did these documenta, these editions. And the word there on top, Denkmal. Denkmal is memory. It is, I don't know how you call it, it is in the cities, if you see Charles Darwin or someone, or in Oslo, the violin player as a statue, as an artifact, it is a memory of something or someone. And so this is the memory, the monumenta documentation of musical art. So musical art here seen as an object. This has nothing to do with performance. Of course, others would use it to perform, but this product as such is visualized, is conceptualized as like a material object. You see it in the terminology also. So this is Memory of the World. This was a program launched in 1992. You have you have historical documents listed here. You have the Luther Bible and so on. Very little music. The first really musical score recognized they say with world significance as a memory of the world document was the score of the original, the autograph of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. See? So this was the first time, imagine, from the perspective of UNESCO, that music got a formal place within a formal recognition as cultural heritage with world significance. And this, of course, has to do with this concept of a cultural heritage that is an object. Later, now a few years ago, as another one, Johann Sebastian Bach's Harmonmesse is also part of this. But it is the score, it is the autograph, it is this amount of paper. I remember when they showed this amount of paper of Bach. Can you hear something here? No. This is the material. It represents something. This has, at this stage, nothing to do with performance, with sounding. Before that, in 2000, I think, or 1999, the Phonogram Archive of Berlin, this is an archive with 15,000 of these wax cylinders from the Edison phonograph, with recordings from 1900 to more or less 1940, collected in Berlin with musical examples from all over the world. This was a huge project. And this was recognized as an archive, but not the music's inside it. It's strange, because this is completely anonymous. The archive as such has been recognized. So, now let's go further. Now we come to ICH, with Intangible Cultural Heritage. We start with something material. Now I'll go through the German inventory, which I know well because for 8 years I served as an expert in the German UNESCO. It was a very interesting experience for me because I learned Germany, this country, from a completely different perspective. You know, it was amazing to know a lot of things. So, for instance, the building of musical instruments. This has been inscribed into the German inventory because it has to do with knowledge, with how to build this instrument, how to use different materials. And this knowledge is not a knowledge someone learned in a course or in a book. No, this is many times it's knowledge passed from the master builder to his students or to her students. So one of these instruments was the organ. Of course, and another thing, each organ is a single piece. You won't find two identical organs, not if they are made by hand. Also because the space where organs are placed, not only in churches, also in theaters, are very specific and many times also thought according to the instrument, which will be there. And regarding organ, I learned also, nowadays in Germany, they have almost 200 different tunings of this instrument. It's amazing, you see? So this is a deep knowledge. Only a few experts know how to deal it, how to tune these instruments. Now coming more to this folk domain. Also this, of course, has been listed in the German inventory. This is the zither from the central, similar instruments I saw here also, from the central part of Germany, Thüringen and Saxony. But they also have this kind of development. This is a zither orchestra. Now let me just have a short view through this inventory. Sorry, it's in German, but you don't have to understand everything. Important is here, these are the elements, and this is where to which domain they belong to. So you see the singing and German orchestras, for instance. Orchestras, this is an interesting topic also, symphony orchestras. Because symphony orchestras in Germany, like in Saxon and even in Weimar also, they are there for over 400 years of existence. They were former court orchestras, for the regional court, and they existed throughout this time. And one interesting fact here, I remember I was in the discussion very much in the beginning, and the folklorists were completely against. No, because symphony orchestra is elite music. They play from score. This is material. This has nothing to do with intangible heritage. But then I asked, but can you explain to me why the sound of the Saxony orchestra in Dresden is different from the Berlin orchestra or from the Vienna orchestra? Is this written in the scores? No, it's not written in the scores. This is a concept of sound. So sound as a paradigm is something very important for intangible cultural heritage, because it's the orchestra, the musician, who choose young musicians who join the orchestra according to the quality of their sound production, in order to have new musicians which playing fits within this concept of sound of the orchestra. So this is a very interesting phenomenon. But it is different from other inventories. If you compare this with the inventory from Austria, for instance, you have, musically speaking, you have only folk music. And this is another thing here. We have the organ, and suddenly we have hip-hop. Hip-hop has this to do with long-lasting traditions and so on. So you see, and this certainly was a bit also our influence, because me and my colleagues, we have always been, I didn't choose hip-hop, but since this convention is a bottom-up, we received applications from the hip-hop people. So we must go through it. And if we are against, we have to have good arguments for that. And look, this was the argument of the hip-hop people from Heidelberg. They say that the informally is passing on knowledge and skills about what they're doing from one generation to the other. So this is a very central aspect of the intangible cultural heritage. You see, so music, on the one hand, as an element which comes close also to the material aspect, and on the other side also a concept of music that is completely different from the musical perception within academia, within musicology. This has nothing to do, I'm sure many of my colleagues in university would say, what is that? How can you put on the same level a symphony orchestra like Dresden with hip-hop from Heidelberg? How is that possible? It is possible through the convention. And that's important to state. With this convention, we don't ask, is this high culture or is this folk culture? Is this musical culture within a formal system, or is it more passed through informal gatherings? This is not the main question. The main question is human being doing something, human being doing music. This is the on top of our questions. And that's different from musicology, because in musicology you have historical musicology, who analyze scores and music from the past. You have ethnomusicology, who look for oral traditions from all over the world nowadays, and they are so separate, completely separate, within academia until nowadays. So, now let's go to the next question. So what is the core of our perception when we get applications like that from hip-hop, for instance? We have this trias. This is very important to observe. So we have knowledge. There is knowledge about tuning system, about how to play, how to pass it on. They are the practices and the result of it. See? And this is, I did it this way because it's easier to memorize. We have a fact, knowledge. We have an act, doing it. And we have an artifact, the result of it. So this is how we work. And it's interesting, this, I saw this later then. You remember the logo of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention? So look at this. Fact, act, and artifact. This is the logo of the convention. They didn't it according to that, that's what I'm saying, but I can't see it here. Well, but for us, for research, and for also analyzing applications, it is very important to see this. In the ideal case, the fact, the act, and the artifact come together. I would say like here in Kaustinen, yes? But many times that's not the case. Many times you see here, you have only the knowledge about something and you have the artifact. Not in the case of music, for instance, handcrafts, for instance. But there is no context any longer, no event to do it. You see? You have this also in music. Many times a musical genre disappears because the context, a religious feast or something, an occasion, is not there any longer. See? And so on. Or you have, you don't have the knowledge any longer. There is nobody who knows what is, but so people do folk dances, for instance, as a folklore, like sports, once a week. They come together, they dance one step here, there, but they don't know why it is. It is fun and they do it. But there's not the knowledge behind it. And often also not the proper formal event of it like in former days. So this is reality in the world. It's not always that you find fact, act, and artifact together. And now this has to do with performance. We also distinguish the means of performance, which is gesture, speech, movement, sound, from the modes, which is dancing, theater, and so on. Of course, this scheme here is very musicological, you see? Because you have these different means, and if you have the intersection of speech and sound, you have singing. If you have the intersection here of movement and sound, you have instrumental music and so on. But in the intangible cultural heritage, in the domain of living heritage and music, it hasn't to be that way. Imagine these four circles coming together. Sorry. And then you will have this, you see. So you have many different kinds of intersections here. And here in the middle, everything comes together. This is what we like to call the total musical fact. This term total musical fact goes back to Marcel Mauss, who was a sociologist in France in the beginning of the 20th century, who said the total social fact. The total social fact is more than the addition of the different elements. And that's here also the case. If we put movement, sound, gesture, and everything together, we will have more than just the addition of these elements. Yeah, this is this living aspect of it. This is just in a few words. Coming back to music, this chain of fact, art, act, and artifact, many times the two last, they come together. So the act, doing music, is at the same time also the outcome, the artifact. This is also different from handcrafts as intangible heritage. So now my main question here for us here, doing research, having an ICH academy, being in UNESCO, what is the criteria for living heritage? And this is what I call the vitality of living heritage. We are speaking about a living heritage, so it's of utmost importance that it is really living, that is vital. Because the convention says also, if you have only a folklore dance, for instance, which has no context, no one who knows, just someone, so this is more something being kept like a piece for a museum. This cannot be recognized as intangible cultural heritage. So this vitality aspect is very central. And this must be central also for our research. And so I found it between African scholars. They have been very much aware of that, I think even before the convention. And these are some titles of Journal of African Studies and so on. And linked to linguistics, but anyway, they were aware of this vitality aspect as something very important. But the question is now, can we somehow measure it? How can we get closer to this? I have here an example. Let's go through it. In one of our research projects in Ethiopia, for the Timket, which is a festivity linked to Epiphania. And we did research there from our chair, and we produced materials, and at the end, 2 years later, the Ethiopian government submitted it to UNESCO, and now it has been recognized as intangible heritage of Ethiopia. Through our journey to the country, we passed through a small village called Burbuwax. We had no intention to go there to see. We had another goal. But suddenly, we said, let's stop here, and maybe if we find some, this is typical ethnomusicology thinking with a recorder. Let's look if we can record something. We went there, the village, about 150 people. In the middle of the country, the village is here under these huge trees. And we placed ourselves in the valley here on the right side. And look what happened. The villagers who were doing their festivity, it was in the middle of these festivities of Timket, who were doing it, suddenly saw that we were there. So we are in the valley. Sorry, this is the wind coming in the mic. Yeah, we don't need so much sound. Suddenly, nothing was prepared. We were just there with our mics. The whole village, or those who perform, come together there. And of course, we could record then. I tried to find the right place. This is our film, which is huge. Hopefully I can find it. Now we have sound, should have. Yeah, here. So this is what we recorded there. I had 2 Ethiopian colleagues with me, of course, who understand the language, and we translated everything and so on. And through the language, we learned, or I learned later because I had my 2 Ethiopian colleagues, that they not only transferred what they have been doing there in the village or would do, but also in the text they related this event to us. Oh, there are some foreigners, they came and they are interested in our music. what are they thinking, and so on and so on. So it's immediately context, and so on. So what is this Buruwax effect, I call? This is the most vital possibility of music as intangible heritage. So, because it's the immediate reaction to an unexpected outside stimulus. And I would say this just for you to understand. So this is something which is very vital. It was not prepared, it was not organized, they didn't rehearse in advance, you see? And they immediately catched the moment. So this is something we can say, yes, this is something which is very vital. And so, well, and from here on, we start doing our research. I'm not going too deep into that, but we are looking for something which we call the vitality index. And in this case, we get methodology and inspiration from companies who have also a kind of vitality index to test their strength in economic sense in the production and so on and so on. So there is research done on this, and I'm trying to use some approaches to our field. And this is in the business, and for us, they call it research and development, would help to quantify the activities of a given ICH element, its capacity to maintain heritage, and to improve its effort within society. So at the end, we would have a sort of equation of ICH vitality index. And there is where this fact, act and artifact come together. We must find, we didn't find yet, we must find a kind of equation. Of course, each of these three must be filled with indicators. And this is the main question, where do we find these indicators? And I would suggest this could be, or these are possible fields where we find indicators for this vitality in the intangible cultural heritage. So, within people and the practitioners, the time calendar and the occasions of an activity. The community is very important in the social context of the cultural expression. Also aspect of safeguarding and support. Also adversities and armed conflicts, which is increasingly becoming actual. The knowledge and intergenerational transmission, does it exist, or more or less. Also, of course, the commodification is intangible heritage being used by producers, by promoters, by the government for other purposes, for tourism, for instance, and so on. And also this aspect of sustainability. At the end, of course, the question. We had the World Heritage, which is nominated according to, can you read it? Outstanding universal value. You have the memory of the world inscribed according to the world significance, in this case of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. But what about intangible cultural heritage? There is nothing about it in the convention. We saw that vitality is a central element. If we do research, if we want to evaluate, and vitality is something which today is here, but in the other year can go down, or we can find others with very low vitality and suddenly it comes up again. It's dynamic, like intangible cultural heritage. But at the end, I would say, we must come to this. Because World Heritage, the outstanding universal value, is defined by external experts. The memory of the world's significance is also determined by external experts. And intangible cultural heritage, I would say we have here something I call an outstanding human value, because this is defined in the first place by its practitioners. So that's different from this other conventions. this is in brief what I wanted to say. It is work in progress. We are working on that very strongly at our chair. But at the end, I will give you just, if you have some 5 minutes more, because it's always nice to have some examples. One example is Afghanistan. We are working with Afghan musical master, Afghan traditional music since almost 12 years. And you remember 2-3 years ago with the Taliban, music was threatened. So this is what I said, intangible heritage and armed conflicts, for instance. This happens, and not only in Afghanistan, also we saw it also in Colombia, in the Pacific coast with the marimba players, a tradition which has been inscribed by UNESCO in its representative list, but due to the armed conflicts in the region, marimba playing has been very much threatened. And also here, and you see this was newspaper in Germany, and the question is, and the newspapers got it, what is going now to happen with the Afghan musical heritage? And we as experts on that at this university, we were working on it. Another example is this, and this is very interesting. This is German. This is a German tradition. This is tradition of birding. I don't know if you have this in Finland. People come together here, and each one brings in a cage its bird, the bird, and the bird sings. And they train the birds to sing according to a lot of, this is knowledge, a lot of law. There are 30 or 40 different bird songs. These are finches. They sing different songs. They are trained. And there is a contest, there is a competition. Which bird sings a more beautiful, or more beautifully the same sound, the same song, the song they have names. And so this is a tradition I found while I was traveling in Germany. This is what I told you. I learned another country I haven't seen before, meeting this kind of traditions. You have a beautiful forest in the heart, in the central part of Germany, and you'll see many of them come, and the cages are covered with this here, and they listen to the song. In this case, the contest is not about the beautiful song, but the competition is which bird sings the most short songs within a period of time. See? This is one thing. And the other here with the circles here is which bird is the strongest against his rivals. And so some birds just stop singing and the circle becomes smaller. At the end, you have those thinkers listening to the sound of song. So imagine if you're walking through the forest, suddenly you see this scene, what is going on here? Because this is a ritual, I never saw a similar thing. In rituals, you have all the 5 senses involved. You see something, you hear, you smell, and so on. But here, this is a ritual only for the ear. You can only hear, you don't see anything. You don't see even the bird because it is closed. And it's a competition, very serious. But the most interesting thing is here for me, the songs. And this is where music comes. Because the perception of people regarding a sounding configuration and melody and judging, this is beautiful and this is less beautiful. Because here it was complete, the last part was there. Or this song is on a pitch which is a bit too low. This is the perception they have. So these are musical parameters. For me, this is an anthropological paradigm regarding human being and music, because it has to do with aesthetic appreciation of sound. You see? Exactly what we know from music. And this is so beautiful because it's very complicated. You see the jury, and this is knowledge. But they know these guys, it's amazing, because they know everything. They know different types of song, they know nothing is written down. This was the first time I did it. They saw the song in a material way on paper. And they know it everything by ear. And let's just listen a bit. And they're commenting. Oh, this has been perfect, wonderful.
Oh,
This was good.
good.
So this is a song. And so, but now, and this is this beautiful cages, and with this, you don't see the bird, but you see the image of the bird. But when I first, we are still there. Sorry, I must. No, I think it's. When I first came to this region, this was 11 years ago. This is very early in the morning, so they are not arriving. Beautiful forest, everything. And now, just 3 months ago, exactly this place looks like that. Like that. So the forest has disappeared almost 50% in this region. And here you understand, and this is an indicator, because if there is no forest, there will be no birds. If there are no birds, knowledge about their singing will disappear. And you'll see through this example how much intangible heritage can be related with the environment. So sustainable development, all these questions, they are very central in our research and in our perception of intangible heritage. And now my last question is for you, what about Kaustinen? So let's try to think about, I think vitality here is no problem, but maybe we find indicators in order to get to a system which can be applied also for other examples. So this is the idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, I took too much time.
No. We still have time also for the questions. Please, do you have any?
Yes, please.
I was curious, with the orchestra music that's in the national list, they didn't put the Singspiel. They didn't put the theatrical, the German title.
You're buying Mozart Zauberflöte or something like that, or?
Well, the German ones, you know,
Yes.
about the hunting and all.
Yes.
That was not enough.
What do you mean? If this has been recognized as
Or
intangible heritage or in the memory of the world program?
anywhere.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
That's
But
a specific type of
yes, of
expression.
course. Yeah. But you know, in last year, the list of the intangible heritage has recognized the Italian bel canto.
Yeah, I saw that.
People think this is opera. No, it's not recognition of opera. It's a recognition of a practice, of doing something,
Yeah.
of learning how to produce this bel canto. This is not written in this course. So sometimes people don't understand. So this was regarding bel canto. So this is practice, musical practice. Not yet.
Yeah.
For the German, it's interesting because we have in Germany the memory of the world, the score of Beethoven's 9th Symphony is there, it's recognized. But we had an application of people playing Beethoven always, but on an amateur level. So their application was the practices with Beethoven's music. This could be a topic for intangible heritage. It could be. It wasn't because I think arguments were not good enough. But anyway, so we have to distinguish this. In fact, the score, memory of the world, and the practices doing it is very central. And I think in these three aspects, knowledge must be there, the practices, and of course also the results, and knowledge as something that is passed on also from one generation. Exactly what you do here, Kaustinen. Yeah, Anna.
Yeah, I have a question about measuring. When you measure the vitality of tradition, do you
Yes.
use any similar tools that the linguistics use when they measure the vitality of maybe disappearing languages, or do you use any similar tools?
No,
could you like think of using same kind of tools?
I think so. Thank you for this observation. I was not so aware about what they are doing. We have in our university also a colleague who works with extinguishing languages, and he's a musicologist also. And anyway, language and music, of course, they are very much linked to each other. This can also be, of course, a direction to enter. We are trying to come not to an end, but to find a way to be closer to it. Yes. But therefore, I think we must collect a lot of data from these indicators. You see, to find a sort of model for indicators, and then we fill in this what we observe in fieldwork to come to this final equation. This is also important because in UNESCO, while evaluating this application, this is always a question, and it doesn't come through the application many times. So though the evaluation body has an application and reading, because this singing is this and that, but sometimes they are not clear about that. And I feel, and this is our duty as UNESCO chair, to support evaluation body, to support UNESCO, which is not a research institution, with our methodology. See, this is also the role of UNESCO chairs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was really an honor for us that you visited already third time here in Kaustinen, and we have been so lucky to have you here for the
But I can tell you why I love coming here, because I play violin also. This is the most important activity. Maybe tonight to be jamming somewhere. Yes.
Yes.
And of course being with you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This book is online. This is an introduction to music as living heritage.
And I forgot to say in the start that in the older program you might see the one presentation about the sound of Chinese reindeer herders, but unfortunately Ying-Chang couldn't attend to the festival this year, so maybe we have that for the forthcoming ICH Academy next summer. And next we have special guests from Bretagne, and you're warmly welcome to here as well. Thank you, and we will make your slides ready here. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll introduce ourselves. Grégoire.
Yeah, I am Grégoire Pluet, and myself School of Music in Brest, Bretagne, the Breton Center for Popular Art, and Katel.
Katel Chlorec. I'm a singer, performer, storyteller. I'm replacing Anne-Cécile, who was supposed to be here, who works with Grégoire in the Centre Breton d'Art Populaire and with the Conservatoire in Brest as well. And so we are here today to talk about traditional Breton music and Fisnoos, intangible cultural heritage. So anyway, here, just for those who don't know where Brittany is, so Brittany in France, surrounded by the sea. So we have some information about the size of our region, country, depending who talks about it, and the capital is Rennes.
Yeah, Rennes is here, and we are coming from here.
Yeah, we're right at the end, in the Finistère, Penarbid in Breton, which means the end of the world. So Brittany, we chose to have a map to show how dance and song is really linked. Now, Brittany here is cut up into different regions. We call them the territoire des pays, countries we call it, because the dance in these areas will be similar. And so Brittany is cut into two main parts, Haute-Bretagne and Basse-Bretagne. This would be the Breton-speaking area, and this would be the Gallo-speaking area, which is not spoken a lot today, but so it's kind of divided into two. And as you can see, all these words here are all the different dances from all the different areas. Each area would have their dance, and when we say a dance, each village practically would have had its way of dancing it. So it's a very, very rich cultural country with all these different forms of dance. So now the dancing is accompanied by music, of course, and what is especially special in Brittany is that we have the singing for dancing, which we call Kansanmusiikki-instituutti. Kansanmusiikki-instituutti is Breton for kan, which is song, and the response. So you have one singer leading and another singer answering, and these two singers will overlap, so that permits to have a constant sound, so that the dance can last up to 10-15 minutes with no interruption. There's no stopping, and we have some different little recordings for you to listen to, because the tradition is very alive and it's adapting and becoming and changing as time goes by. And so we've got three different forms of singing here. So the first one would be what we call chant dans la ronde, how people would have done it before, singing while dancing. So maybe Grégoire, we can listen to that. So there we go, people singing and dancing, so very energetic. This would have been something that people would have done at the end of a day's work, or as a community coming together in the village, singing often the same songs and always dancing the same dance. And then we have a more modern form where then suddenly more and more people, Fest-Noz was invented, Fest-Noz, which is the night parties where people come together and dance. Musicians and singers are on stage, and so now they have microphones, so it's slightly different. So there we have singers on stage, dancers, separated. And the more modern form today is we have singers who are accompanied by instruments. And hundreds of dancers. One of my favourite bands. Listen to them. Non it fair. So now we'll talk, that was the singing for dancing. Now we'll talk about the instruments. We have bombard and biniou instruments, which are the traditional instruments of Brittany. So a bombard is a double reed instrument from the oboe family. It's has quite a shrill sound. It has been compared on the radio, I heard in Britain many years ago, to a bag of weasels being put through a mincer. I don't feel that it sounds like that at all, but anyway, that's what some people who are not used to it would compare it to. So very shrill, and it's an outdoor instrument, very important. When it's played in a room like this, it can be slightly aggressive if you're not used to it. Then we have a biniou, which is a small bagpipe, which is an octave above the bombard. And these bombard and biniou, before they would have been probably made together as a set, and they would be corded together, made to sound well together. And the biniou will create a constant sound made by the drone, and then they will answer each other like the conediscon do, like the singers do. They will answer each other as well. And so here, we'll let you have a little listen to that. There we go. And then bombards and biniou in a kind of in a band. Well, this is what it can sound like. There we go. So we have the traditional form and the more modern form here. Okay, so instruments in Breton music. The more what we would call traditional, the first instruments that were used were bombard and biniou, as we said, but quite after that came in the fiddle, the drums, the clarinet, which we call trojangol, and accordions. And as time goes by, inspired by what was going on in the other Celtic countries and, you know, the music and this kind of Celtic identity which has come forward, the Celtic harp, great Highland pipes, and the Irish flute also came in to the Breton music. And today we have all kinds of instruments: bouzouki, banjos, saxophones, guitars, and drum kits. I mean, there's a whole well, any instrument really can be played now in Fest-Noz for playing Breton music, and obviously everything modern as well, as beatbox, electronic synthesizers, loopers, Fender Rhodes. I mean, the list is just goes on. And what is nice is these can be. It's not one or the other. The bombard and biniou are still there, the traditional singers are still there. You can go to a Fest-Noz and you can have the bombard and biniou, you can have the very modern music, and everybody will dance to everything. And that shows that it is it's alive, you know, and it's moving forward with its time, but it's still looking back at how it was before. So it's very, very nice to be part of that culture.
Maybe next slide, maybe, because we are short in time.
Yeah, okay. Pas de bagad?
Yeah.
Just very quickly, we have bagads as well, which are big kind of orchestras with bombards and binious and lots of percussion as well. So these are like music schools. I mean, loads of children go through, learn to play bombard and biniou and Breton music, thanks to all these bagads. I mean, I don't know how many are there in Brittany. I mean, there and in France, because it's not just in Brittany. So, you know, we have this as well.
Maybe you can listen to
A little bit of a bagad. And this one is led by a young woman. Not very often. Soleil, a friend of ours. There we go. So that is a bagad. If you want to come and discover Breton music, we have made a little list of the festivals where you could hear concerts and dances and parades and all kinds of things. So there's the Filet Bleu, les Fêtes de Cornouailles, les Brodeuses, Interceltique and Ficelle. Those are the summer festivals. And then if you come to Brittany in the autumn, there's Yawank, and there's many others. There is a website called Tancrèze where you can find information about all concerts and Fest-Noz that are going on in Brittany.
So we're now talking about another music festival. So Maria and I, Chloe, are working for it. This is the Festival du Bout du Monde. So once again, it means the end of the world. Je te laisse en parler.
I'm Maria from Key West Music. It's an enterprise based in Brest, Western Brittany, the same as Centre Breton d'Art Populaire, as Katel and Grégoire. It's an enterprise. It's a 30 years enterprise. We celebrated the 30 years today, this year in May, with our director. We built the enterprise. We are organizing between 25 and 30 concerts per year between October and May, June. It's music, world music, rock music, a French song, like any kind of music, less rap and hip hop, but more like from blues, jazz, traditional music, folk music, anything actually.
Very eclectic music.
We are organizing it in different venues of our hometown, from 500 or even less, 300 people audience until 3,000 people in different venues in Brest, but also in smaller cities and villages in our close to our town. This is our activity during winter and autumn, and we are also organizing a festival with it's the Festival du Bout du Monde, which means, as Chloé said, festival at the end of the world, because we are really at the end of Brittany, close to the Atlantic Ocean. The Festival du Bout du Monde is celebrate this year its 24th birthday. It was the first edition was in 2000. It's a 3-day festival, always at the beginning of August. We welcome 35 bands from all over the world. This year we welcome 25 countries. Yeah, 25 countries during 3 days, which is kind of a lot of work. And we welcome...
Not so much comparing to here.
Yeah, it's really different organizations. We have 3 stages. We have stages for this one is the biggest one, which can welcome like 15,000 people. Another one, a cabaret, not exactly the same, but 8,000 cabarets, also after the wood, and other stages, another stage of 3,000, 40,000. So in total, it's 20,000 people a day. It's quite an organization. We start. Now, actually, our team is working on it very actively. We started, it's like building a city. I mean, I guess it's like here. So it's almost 1 month and a half, 1 month before and 3 weeks after to let the field like clear after.
So, about the Festival du Bout du Monde and Key West, we are invited all over the year. Some Breton bands. For the Festival du Bout du Monde, this is not only traditional music, this is, so very eclectic, but each year we try to have at least one local band, and when it's local, it's not always traditional music, but we invite a lot of traditional music band like Fleuve and Diaz, Saldaoui et le Bagad de Plomodian. Saldaoui and le Bagad de Plomodian, so they was just showing you a short example of what is a bagad. So when you have a bagad coming on the stage with an artist, it's an organization to have. And it's always an experience for the public, because if they are here to see just one artist, when all the bagad is coming, it's wow, just amazing. So we like to have this kind of proposition. And Chrisman and Alain, that I will, you will listen in a few minutes, and so many more. So as Katel was saying, now all the traditional music evolve, and this is more and more mixing with other country or other musics. So this is now we are sometimes telling about fusion or world music, and with the electronic music which appears, it's really some new approaches. So now I think that it's traditional but really contemporary. So I will show you some examples. So here is Tekmao. This is more with electronic music. So there is une bombarde and c'est un biniou. C'est le bagpipe.
Red iron bagpipe.
Specialist. Excellent.
I'm not. Here is this is not Canadiscan because this is with beatboxing, but Chris Mann that you will see is at la base du Canadiscan.
Yeah, it's a traditional singer.
Yeah.
But the answer will be beatbox. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not singing. And so, as Katel was saying, what is amazing that when you are in a festival like this, in which bands, if it's traditional or more contemporary, people are still dancing and enjoying music as well. Here is Noon. This is more electronic. Doesn't want to. No, I think that you will not listen to it. Okay. And this is a way to find maybe some young people who doesn't know the traditional music. So now these bands are ils touchent
Yeah, there's like a new public, like the new.
touche un public plus jeune qui.
Yeah, young people are getting interested in the traditional music through these new bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the last one, Craze. Here, this is a one-man band, and this is more like trance music. You'll see. Oh. This is a dark video, so you can see something. So we are more and more proposing this kind of traditional music now, and it's still enjoying. Okay. And so for the Festival du Bout du Monde, we have some special creations. Like the first one, the first picture, you can see Imivrini. This is Corsican band. So Corse is a big island in the south of France. And so they came in the festival and they asked us if it was possible to have the Baguette de Plomodian with them. So it was a creation just amazing, and it's a pleasure to have the mix between Corsican and Breton music, because it's so different, but when it's a creation like this is awesome. We also had Relema and the University Orchestra from Brest, and more recently the Gambé Brass Band. Here it was another way to have so the Gambé Brass Band, which is from I do not remember the country, but this is so an African one. And it was the Baguette de Plomodian again. We worked a lot with them. And so it's really, yes, the creation between two different type of music, and it begins only one, and it's amazing. And so the last one, and that's also why we are here this year, the creation with Untitled, with the musician from Brest Conservatory and the Centre Breton d'Art Populaire. So maybe I will tell Maria and maybe Grégoire tell about this, talk about this awesome creation.
I guess you recognize Antipalalien, that is a very, you know him. Sure. 2 years ago, in 22, we welcomed Antipalalien as a solo show in at the Festival du Bout du Monde, in the little stage. We don't like to say little and main stage, but it's a more like discovery emergent artist. And he was performing alone with his accordion and singing, as you know, and people just got crazy. It was really amazing. And the specificity at the Festival du Bout du Monde is that we do for the discovery stages. They play twice. So he played in the afternoon, and everybody in the festival like, oh, it was so amazing, this Finnish guy, so just go. And in the second show there was so many people, and a lot of people remembered like Antipalalien, the discovery of the Festival du Bout du Monde in 22. And Antti is an amazing person, a really nice person, and we welcomed him, and he really loved Brittany. And he went to swim. He discovered the city, because we didn't tell you, but the Festival du Bout du Monde is in a protected area. It's a natural region, le Parc naturel régional d'Armorique. So it's a beautiful region, and we are really close to the sea. So some artists are just going to swim between two shows, just the specificity that we have. And he went and he was saying, I love this region. And by the way, the Finnish music and the Breton music, there is a connection, there is a link, there is something we could do. So he talked to his producer. He has a French producer that we know very well as a promoter. And this idea in autumn 22 that, oh, why not we could do a creation between me and a school in Brittany, in Brest. He wanted pupils, he didn't want professional, he wanted pupils to have this idea of transmission. And so we contacted Grégoire with here. So if you had something to add, maybe.
We worked together with Antti to try to have a meeting between Finnish music that he knew and music from Brittany that I knew better. And we tried to build music with those two regions, with the specificity that the students who are playing with Antti, the youngest one have only 1 or 2 years of music practicing, and the oldest one are already teaching in a music school. So very different levels, and the challenge was to create something that could be played by everybody and interesting to play for everybody. And that was the work we did. And he did an amazing work. Everybody has a part to play. Everybody had the possibility to to build the music program, everything was not prepared in advance. Something were, and some things happened when the meeting happened with Antti. So it was a project where the students were totally invested in it, and we had the chance to play last year at the Bouillon Festival, and after that, because Antti is becoming more and more famous in France, he always gets back.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times, but we had the chance to play with him once again next to Brest in April, and this will be the third show with him here in Kaustinen tomorrow with Antti, with the students from France, and with local musicians.
In KPU Arena. Don't remember that.
So what an adventure!
What time is it tomorrow?
7 p.m.
It's AC United.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
yeah.
KPU.
Yeah, so it was for us as a promoter, it's an amazing opportunity. It's a meaning of our work, I think, to have the possibility to link, have these connections between local pupils and students, and this kind of adventure is really amazing. So Grégoire and Anne-Cécile did the artistic part, and we accompany them as our organization because of course it's also a lot of work to organize. Antti came twice to rehearse, and he coming back to. I think he's always. He will maybe live in Brittany. I don't know in the future. Yeah, so I don't know where I was going.
Well, this is.
Yeah.
I just maybe want to finish on something that you said earlier. I think this is the perfect way for us to. They're passing on knowledge and skills. This is what you were saying, and here this is a perfect example. I think that how you can exchange, passing on all the things that you know, and how to transmit it. So this is. We are very, very glad that all these teams came here, and we are so excited to do it tomorrow.
So it will be 17 people on stage, 16, 18 people, so singers, accordion players from 12 to 40 years and year old, and also a drummer. So I can only recommend you to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you still have questions?
Thank you very much for both presentations. You can see here the importance of festivals as a context for living heritage. That's amazing. And some new things and different styles coming together, and this is really very, very interesting. I'm sure in future sometime someone will submit a file also to festival as a place of living heritage. I have two short questions. This Brest Conservatory, is this a classical music conservatory, or is it focused on local music, or what is it?
At the beginning, it was the academic conservatory,
It's
with
academic.
classical music, and since the 80s in France, with François Mitterrand, Jacques Lang, and Bernard Jacob-Melchiorine, who were in that Ministry of Culture, the French diplomas and French music studies began to integrate Baroque music, jazz music, traditional music, other styles of music who worked in the French Conservatory. At the beginning, the French Conservatoire was built at the beginning of the 19th century to get good musicians in the orchestra, French orchestras.
The model was in Paris Conservatory.